How's it going, guys? I'm Aaron from PhoneDog.com, and Motorola, or Googlerola I guess, once the deal is approved by federal regulators, they're launching quite a few awesome phones. Now you've got the Motorola DROID BIONIC over here, new to Verizon, $299, their fourth 4G LTE device, and their first dual-core 4G LTE device. Then you have Sprint's reigning champion, the Motorola PHOTON 4G dual-core device over here as well, much cheaper though, $199.99. So you're saving a Benjamin by buying this one versus buying this one, but 4G LTE speeds are substantially faster. Now both of these have dual-core processors, both have 8-megapixel cameras, both have 4.3-inch displays, but the designs are a little bit different, and obviously they're on different carriers. Which one's the best for you? Let's take a look and find out in a dogfight. But first, you know what? I like walking out working. You know where you can do that? Best Buy Mobile. You'll walk out working, they'll hook you up with your email, your web, they'll set it up so you walk out. You don't have to sweat about it. It's all set up and ready to go. They hook us up with awesome phones like this in the One Paw Bandit game, so we got to give them a little bit of love. And also, special thanks to Verizon and for Sprint for hooking us up with review units. Let's go check it out. Let's see which one's the best. Is it the DROID BIONIC or is it the Motorola PHOTON 4G? Let's take a look and find out. You know what, you got to give them some credit. Motorola is really churning out some awesome high-end Android smartphones. You have the Motorola DROID BIONIC. This thing has been rumored forever, actually announced at CES in January. Now, totally different design over here from what we saw in January at CES, but it took 9 months. It's like a baby. It took 9 months for this thing to come from CES all the way to retail shelves, and it looks a lot different to boot. Now, this is obviously in style with Motorola's current design scheme. You know, it looks a lot, and actually, to me, from the front, it looks a lot like the DROID 3. In fact, when they do the ad, the DROID BIONIC NFL mobile ad, I have trouble telling the difference, you know, when it's appearing straight on, that is. But you can see it's a pretty thick device. It's not as thick as I thought it was going to be, and it kind of looks like a DROID X2 in terms of the hump on the back, kind of like a mixture between a DROID 3, kind of like the DROID 3 and the DROID X2 had a baby, and it took 9 months to come out, and here it is, Motorola DROID BIONIC, even though those phones really weren't out at CES. But you can see it's a thick device, but it's not as thick as the pictures looked. I remember seeing this thing when they were showing the pictures, and Mr. Blurry Cam was out and about doing his thing, and I thought it was going to be much thicker than it actually is. So it packs a 1,735 milliamp hour battery, so it's the largest battery out of the 4G LTE handsets, and the specs are nothing to scoff at either. It has a dual-core 1 GHz TI OMAP processor, which is interesting because this one has TI OMAP, this one has NVIDIA Tegra 2. It's personal preference. I've always been a fan of Tegra 2, but I'm wondering if Tegra perhaps had some sort of issue with Verizon's 4G LTE network, you know, in the LTE radios. Who knows? Maybe, maybe not. But anyway, 4.3-inch QHD display with PinTile technology, so it does utilize the PinTile technology that you may love or may hate. It makes the device brighter on one side, but on the other hand, it makes it pretty pixelated. You've got a front-facing camera there, and you have an 8-megapixel camera with 1080p HD video recording. Now, interesting here again, 1080p video recording over here, 720p over here. We'll get to the Photon in just a second. It's running Android 2.3 with Motorola's custom user interface. Let me move that light so it doesn't shine directly on the, at least try to move it. But it's running Android 2.3 with Motorola's custom user interface. Now, interestingly enough, the custom user interface builds are different from device to device. So you'll notice some similarities and you'll notice some differences between the DROID BIONIC and the Photon 4G. Now, here's the Motorola Photon 4G, available at Sprint now for $199.99. So this is one of two flagship devices on Sprint, really, arguably. This one and the HTC Evo 3D. Now you have a 4.3-inch display over here, QHD, also PinTile. So same size display and a little bit of a different design, kind of more of a plasticky design on this one with interesting chrome buttons over here on the side and a little bit of a design difference. But dual-core 1 GHz NVIDIA Tegra 2 processor, 8-megapixel camera on the back, so also has an 8-megapixel camera, but like I said a minute ago, it shoots video in 720p. And then you have your 3.5mm headphone jack up here, power button, you have your HDMI port and USB, micro USB charging port, that is. You have a camera, physical camera button, which I love, and then your volume rocker, and got capacitive buttons down here at the bottom. Now over here, same thing, same deal, micro USB charging port, HDMI for a laptop dock. And for all the accessories, you know, both of these devices come with some amazing accessories. Motorola does a great job with the accessory ecosystem on these devices. You can get a lap dock, you can get an HD dock, you can get a regular dock just for charging purposes. No physical camera button over here, but you do get a volume rocker. And then you have a 16GB micro SD card that comes pre-installed. And actually, I'll go ahead and take the battery door off so you can see kind of what it looks like on the back. So there's the 1,735 milliamp hour battery, 16GB, and kind of buried under there you can see the 4G LTE SIM card that comes with the device. So let's go ahead and get this back on. It's interesting, you know, the battery door isn't as sturdy as I'd like it to be, but you know, still I've had the device for a couple of days and haven't really had any issues with it wobbling or anything like that. So it hasn't had too many problems. And up here you have the 3.5mm headphone jack and your power button as well. And like I said, very closely resembles the Droid X2, except for the hump. It isn't as pronounced as it is on the Droid X2. Now, both of these running Android 2.3, both running custom builds of Motorola software, but let's turn off the, I actually think this is interesting too. The power button's on the left side on the Bionic, on the right side on the Photon, but let's turn them off and back on so you can see the lock screen differences. Here's something that's, right out of the gate, lock screens look totally different. You got a Droid 3-like lock screen over here. You have a kind of Droid X2 and other older Motorola device lock screen over here. It's typical Android lock screen, unlock and get back in. Whereas with this one, you can either toggle the switch to turn the sound on and off, and then you can move it that way and easily access again. So little differences like that are really present in these two different builds of Motorola's custom user interface. Now, interestingly enough, the icons look very similar. You can see browser and text messages look identical, contacts look identical, and then we'll go in here and take a look. Now, here's another one. You'll see all apps, and you'll see access to the market here, and the notifications bar looks similar as well, so no differences there. Now, where you do see the differences, this one scrolls from side to side. It's very similar to TouchWiz, very similar to iOS. Scrolls from side to side. This one scrolls in traditional Android format, up and down. So a lot of little quirks like that, but you can see we're going to jump straight to the respective carrier folder so we can see the bloatware that comes in these devices. Out of the box with the Bionic, you get IM Mobile Hotspot, My Verizon Mobile, NFL Mobile, and all the VCast stuff, Media Manager, music, tones, videos, visual voicemail, which is an extra $2.99 with Verizon, and the VZ Navigator. Now over here, you get NASCAR Sprint Cup Mobile, Sprint ID, which interestingly enough, it does come with a higher end handset. It's also coming to the Epic 4G Touch, which is obviously a high end handset as well. Sprint Mobile Wallet, Sprint Music Plus, Sprint Radio, TV and Movies, Sprint Worldwide, Sprint Zone, and then formerly Sprint Navigation, now called Telenav GPS Navigator. Now the interesting cool, I'm not really sure that adds up, but you get the idea. The interesting thing about this device, and something that's very cool about it, that sounds a little better, is that with the Simply Everything plans and the Everything data plans, all these features are included. So you get NASCAR Sprint Cup Mobile, you get Telenav, you get Sprint TV, Sprint Radio, all for free. VZ Navigator, $9.99 a month. Voicemail, $2.99 a month. You can see that you get really nickeled and dimed with some of these features. And granted, Google has a great Maps program, but still something to keep in mind. But outside of that, you can see Amazon Kindle, a couple of things that just come pre-installed. Google Books, Amazon Kindle, Blockbuster over here on the Bionic. And you can see there's a lot of bloatware on both of these devices. Now, Sprint allows for their stuff, most of their stuff at least, to be uninstalled. So if you don't want it, you can come in here to Sprint TV, for example, and you can uninstall it. Now, you can't do that with the Verizon stuff. It is locked to the device, no way to uninstall it without rooting. So Sprint does listen to their customers. They realize that some people don't want that. That's something to keep in mind. So Video Surf as well over here. So a couple, little spare applications that didn't quite make it into the carrier folders. And then you can see Netflix, which Netflix is now available for all Android devices that are running 2.2 or 2.3. But this one has visual voicemail as well, and it's included as part of your Sprint plan. So that said, that's really the primary differences between the two OSs. Now you do another difference actually while I'm thinking about it. You have 7 home screens over here, whereas you only have 5 on the Droid Bionic, and you can see the kind of animation difference here. You've got kind of a carousel-looking animation here, and you can see that when I scroll and scroll back and forth, you can see it's kind of flipping it out in kind of a carousel style form, whereas with this one, it just scrolls directly side to side. So little things like that, you'll see that all throughout the device, especially as we do this Dogfight. But let's take a look at messaging, jump into this and see the keyboard. So we're going to do the Photon first, and both of these have 4.3-inch displays, and both have pin tile technology. And let me show you what I mean when I say it's pixelated. Let me get this zoomed in. Sorry for the out of focus, but let me see if I can get it to zoom in so you can see. Take a look at the battery indicator and take a look at that blue bar where it says 53677. Take a look at how pixelated that is. Now, on one hand, the screen's very bright, but in comparison to something like Super AMOLED Plus or Retina, it's very, very pixelated. I'm sorry, I'm trying to hold it as still as I can, but at that zoom, it's just going to shake no matter what. But you get the idea. Very pixelated, both of these screens. I'm going to hold up the Bionic just so you can see what I'm talking about here. Same thing applies over here, and you can see that nice 4G LTE logo. It's nice to see that on a Motorola device. But you can see what the pixelation I'm talking about, especially when I bring down the Verizon banner here, or bring down the notifications bar. You can really see those lines in between Verizon Wireless. So something to keep in mind, take a look at it in the store. You may love it, you may hate it, you may not even notice it, but take a look at it and see if it's something that bothers you, because if you are coming from the iPhone 4 with a Retina display, or you're coming from the Droid Charge, let's say, with a Super AMOLED Plus display, it's going to be a noticeable difference in terms of pixelation, and while I think you can get used to it, it may not be something you want. Now, out of the box over here, you have Motorola's multi-touch keyboard. and you have a swipe as well. So two different options. Both of these have 4.3-inch displays. So we're going to respond to this and say you can receive a $50 shopping gift card plus $1,200 grocery savings. The Quick Brown Fox says, heck yeah, I love savings. Quick Brown Fox says, heck yeah, I love savings. So pretty quick and easy to type on this. There's no lag on the keyboard. Motorola's multi-touch keyboard is by far my favorite out of the Android keyboards. I say that in every video, but in case you've never seen one of the Dogfights, or you're coming into the videos for the first time. Now, because this has a 4.3-inch display, and same thing with the Bionic over here, because it has a large display, very easy to type on both in portrait, but particularly in landscape mode as well. You can see what I'm talking about here. And both of these, same display, but you can really see the design differences when I hold them like this. A little bit more boxy over here, a little bit more square, or a little bit more rounded, if you will, and a little bit of a design difference on the Photons. It's going to boil down, at anything, at the most basic level, it's going to boil down to the design that you prefer, all carrier and all things aside. So you can say the Quick Brown Fox, and I'm just typing out really quickly. Now let's do the portrait on the Bionic. So we're going to say the Quick Brown Fox is happy and hungry. Quick Brown Fox is happy and hungry. It's pretty quick, pretty easy to type on, and the transitions are quick and easy. Now that's something that I point out in a lot of the videos. The transitions on Motorola's user interface, formerly known as Moto Blur, are pretty impressive. Like, you see how quick and easy it transitions, and even though there's a little bit of a lag, the transition effect kind of masks that lag. Well, that's something that's present in Motorola's latest build. That's not an Android 2.3 thing. So if you look at a stock device or perhaps one with another user interface, transition effects aren't as smooth. So something to keep in mind there. Let's do a quick browser test. We're going to go in here and take a look at PhoneDog. And I was looking up stuff, how long it takes an app to get approved. I was doing some research on that earlier. So we're going to do phonedog.com over here, and we're going to take a look and see which one is the most responsive. Now, both are dual-core devices, but this one's running a TI OMAP processor, this one's running a Tegra 2 processor, so you may see some little differences there as a result. So we're going to load these up. Now, PhoneDog's already loaded, almost loaded. You can see how quick and easy it is. I do have the Sprint one on 4G, but Sprint's network's been kind of struggling lately. But we're going to take a look at the pinch to zoom. This is something a lot of people saw in the unboxing. While I wasn't holding it in my hand, I think when you do like this, you can see how fluid the device is. When I was doing the unboxing, I was trying to kind of pinch and zoom and hold the camera with my other hand, and so it didn't really work out very well in the unboxing video. But you can see very smooth, in my opinion. I'm pretty pleased with the pinch to zoom performance, and you can see the quick and easy transitions from portrait to landscape as well. So I mean, I've been pleased with the browser here, and same thing over here. Now it's not fully loaded yet, so we're gonna wait for it to do its thing. Look at that fully load, but you can see the transitions over here are equally fast. So even though they are two different processor technologies, I'm really not in day-to-day performance seeing a difference between the Droid Bionic and the Motorola Photon 4G. But it'll be interesting when we run a quadrant standard test in part 2 of this video. It'll be interesting to see which one comes out on top. Page is loaded. You can see pinch to zoom still reasonably fast over here as well, and you get the same menu functions on both of these devices. The ability to go over here, we're going to open up, and you can see again little differences between the user interface. New window looks different. Refresh, the buttons are slightly different, but when we go into Windows, you can see the difference here. No preview option, no ability to show where you left off. It's all text-based, so I just have to click those and go right back. So browser performance, pretty much a tie between both of these devices. It just depends on which carrier you're on, which design you like, but the rest, little differences between the menu user interface, but the rest, it's pretty much a tie so far.